If you're trying to decide which cruise cabin you want to book, look no further. Today we are going over the different cruise cabin types from interior, ocean view, balcony, and suites, and just some things you should consider when you're trying to decide what cabin that'll be best for your upcoming cruise. Let's start with the infamous inside cabin. The inside cabin is that girl and she just gets too much hate. People be hating on the inside cabin, and I personally am not too good for the inside cabin. I would say the inside cabin is great for someone that, you know, is on a budget and doesn't necessarily need to have a balcony or see outside the window, because in the cabin they'll have the TV where you can have like different ship views, so you can see the front, side, all the different views of the cameras on the ship. But I would say the inside cabin, you can definitely oversleep up in there, because since it's so dark in there, when, you know, there's no natural light coming in to wake you up in the morning, just make sure you set your alarm when just make sure you set your alarm when you're in an inside cabin. Because on me and my husband's honeymoon, we were on the Wonder of the Seas. At the time, it was the biggest cruise ship in the world back in 2022. And we were doing a Mediterranean cruise. We had booked our excursions, and we were in an inside cabin because, listen, we had just paid for the wedding, the flights. Obviously, we had to go to Barcelona from Dallas, and so we had to pay for flights. And we're like, we just gonna be happy we're on the biggest cruise ship in the world. An inside cabin will work. And trust me, I'm one of those people that'll say, I'd rather be in an inside cabin than sitting at home talking about I'm too good for one but ain't been on a cruise. So don't be that person talking about, oh, I had to have a balcony. And how you have to have a balcony and you ain't been on a cruise? So that's that. So inside cabin, I think, is great for people that are going to be active. Like, you're out and about at all the events on the cruise to where you're barely really in your room except for changing and sleeping. Because when you think about it, the cruise has so many activities that you're probably not going to be in your room a lot. But to me, the difference between an inside cabin and a balcony cabin could be $600, $700 or more. And when I think of it is, you know, you could really just use that difference in price for other things such as excursions, shopping. So that's how I feel about inside cabins. If you want to tussle in the comments about how you too good for it, then be my guest. But something about me, I'll be on 3 cruises in a year and be an inside cabin versus for the price of one suite on one cruise that year, okay? The next cabin category is the ocean view room. The ocean view is good if you, like I said, want that natural light, at least just coming in a little bit, and just to see where you're at for your own eyes versus an inside cabin where you're relying on getting out of your room, going to another deck, or looking at the, you know, televisions that have the like live video footage of your sailing. For the most part, it's definitely going to be more than inside. And the only advantage is you just have a window, so you have some natural light coming in. So to me personally, I would still choose the inside cabin, because that difference in cost could be anything from your drink package to your Wi-Fi, depending on your sailing, you know, an excursion or two. Especially with the cruise cabins that you choose for certain cruise lines like Royal Caribbean. If you want this type of cabin and you want the extra space, this, that, it adds up. Whether it's a family interior, you know, all the different rooms have different categories, and they add up as you go higher in the scale. So keep that in mind. Now, balcony, of course, like I said, some people have to have a balcony. I personally understand it. My first cruise, I had a balcony. This was the cruise that I booked 12 days before it sailed off, and we got a balcony for a good deal. But to me, it was amazing. Like, I love the balcony. And then my second cruise, I had another balcony, but it was also like kind of like during that 2021, 2022, like post-COVID times where the prices were just, you know, the prices were fire. Like, there were just last minute deals and it was just a good time. So now their prices are definitely higher. Like, you're gonna pay upwards of $600, $700, you know, even another $1,000. And it's always, for the most part, it's per person extra. So just keep that in mind. That extra money can be used somewhere else. But if you're someone that's like, hey, I have to have this, is something I'm willing to spend money on, then go right ahead. I think the balcony is definitely worth it. You know, especially if you're on Virgin Voyages, you got a hammock. I had an inside cabin on my Virgin Voyages cruise this past spring, but one of my family members, they had a hammock. And let me just tell you, people will book that balcony on Virgin Voyages just for that hammock. So they got that on lock. some balconies that have extended, sizing, so the balconies could be bigger. And even Carnival has that for certain rooms. But for those rooms with the bigger balconies, you're gonna have to book ahead because people take those up quick, especially with the front cabins with the balcony or those back cabins with the balcony. So if you want that type of view, book as early as possible. The next category of cabins are the suites. So the suites, obviously you're gonna have more room, but the suite is for someone that, especially on a longer cruise, like let's say you're doing a 10, 14 day cruise, a suite would definitely be recommended if you just wanna have just more time to be in the room if you have things that you wanna do in there. But if you're someone that is always out of the room, you're going to the comedy shows, you're the first person in line to, grab the food or go to bingo, and you're just out and about, you don't necessarily need a suite. Suite is just, that if you have the funds available to add on that amount. And so I'm never gonna say people shouldn't book the suites, shouldn't book the balcony. I just think that to say you can only go on a cruise if it's a balcony, those are the people that have already been on cruises, and hey, rightfully so, you have your preference. But for people that have not experienced a cruise, you can't even say that if you haven't gone anywhere. So just get in your inside cabin, your Oceanview, your family room, you got the rooms with the bunk beds, the 4 people to a room. You're just gonna have a great time if you're with the people that you love, your friends, family, whether you're in an inside cabin, balcony, or a suite. Just keep that in mind. Your experience is based on the people you're with and however you make it as well. Like, even if you with people that, hey, y'all ain't getting along, that's why there's so much stuff to do on a cruise. So I would say, based on your budget, if you're just trying to get on the ship and you just want to be there, get in an inside cabin. If you need to have a view and just some natural light coming in so you can see what's happening, Oceanview. If you want to sit out on the balcony, read a book, do adult things, whatever you please on the balcony, there are rules and there are cameras, keep that in mind. But the balcony definitely, you have that privacy with the height that they have them at and everything like that. You have privacy on the balcony to a certain extent. They do have cameras, so just be careful what you think you can get away with. And of course, if you have children, watch your children, because you don't want someone having an accident because the balcony and no one was watching them. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I hope this was very helpful and maybe helps you decide what's worth your money. That's all up to you, but just the type of person you are. If you're always gonna be inside, if you're someone that's like, hey, I'm a napper, I'm gonna be in the room taking naps and I just wanna be comfortable there, then maybe you want a balcony. If you're like, hey, I'm gonna be out in the club, I'm gonna be at the comedy show, at all the shows, and I'm not even gonna be in my room till I sleep, get that inside cabin, because you'll be happy when you didn't spend an extra $600 for a balcony if you were barely in your room. So I hope this video was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to help. I'm here to help you book that trip because you deserve it, and you said you was gonna do it last year and a year before that and a week ago, and you still ain't booked it. So this is the sign to book that trip. See you in the next video.